free.
In Texas, House lawmakers gathered again for roll call today to take up redistricting measures. State lawmakers are in week 2 of efforts after state Democrats broke quorum to protest Republican plans to redraw congressional districts.
As a few members milled around on the Texas House floor, Speaker Dustin Burrows picked up the gavel.
There being 95 members present, a quorum is not present.
With more than 4 dozen Democrats still out of the state to prevent a vote on a Republican-drawn congressional district map that favors GOP candidates, no action could be taken. Burrows will try again Friday. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
President Trump, along with J.D. Vance, his vice president, and European leaders, are set to hold virtual talks tomorrow. It comes ahead of President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Ukraine's President Zelensky says Russia's leader wants Ukraine to withdraw and give up the remaining 30% of the Donetsk region as part of that ceasefire deal.
Without Ukraine's president in the room, the White House press secretary now says the Anchorage summit will amount to a listening exercise.
And the goal of this meeting for the president is to walk away with a better understanding of how we can end this war.
Caroline Leavitt confirms President Trump will meet with Vladimir Putin one-on-one Friday. The president has spoken of the need for land swaps, an indication Ukraine may have to cede territory to bring the years-long war to an end. But Trump has also suggested Putin might just be tapping him along. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's now 4:05 on this sunny Tuesday afternoon. I'm Will Feeley with your KVNU News Update. And of course, today is primary election day, and Cache County residents are being reminded that they have until 8 o'clock tonight to cast their ballots. Our Voter Assistance Center is open at the Cache County Events Center, located at 490 South, 500 West, to help residents and to also collect those ballots. Voters can also return their ballots to drop-off boxes. One of those is set up just west of the Cache County Administration Building at 179 North Main Street. Now, keep in mind that it's too late to mail your ballots. Ballots have to be received by 8 o'clock tonight in order to be counted. In other news, a 62-year-old homeless man has been sentenced to prison for stalking a volunteer at the William A. Bernard Warming Center. Now, Lauren Carlton McCarty was given the maximum term yesterday after a judge called his actions totally inappropriate. Now, according to prosecutors, McCarty began messaging the victim after she provided assistance to him at the seasonal homeless shelter in Logan. Now, the text messages, sometimes more than 200 a day, were romantic in nature. Now, later, he sent flowers and letters to the woman's residence, even as she repeatedly asked him to stop. Now, the woman became more concerned for her safety after learning that McCarty had previously been convicted of stalking and was fired from the Logan City Police Department. He also threatened to harm himself if the woman contacted law enforcement. Now, during yesterday's sentencing hearing, McCarty asked the court not to send him to prison. He admitted his actions were stupid. McCarty also apologized to the victim and promised not to contact her again. Now, Judge Spencer Wall said McCarty's actions warranted prison, especially due to his 4 prior convictions for stalking, which began back in 2002. And a man has been arrested after he allegedly stole a car with an infant inside from a downtown Salt Lake City parking garage last Thursday. Now, according to police, Carlos Daniel Castellanos, a 23-year-old, had got into a running vehicle at the gateway and then drove off. Now, the mother was briefly dragged as she tried to stop the car. The baby was found unharmed after Castellanos had reportedly stopped, told the mother to take the child before fleeing again in the stolen vehicle. Now, police were able to identify Castellanos after he allegedly used credit cards that were in the stolen vehicle. Surveillance video from a convenience store linked him to the theft and the credit card use. He was arrested on Friday and booked into the Salt Lake County Jail. Well, it's been another hot afternoon as temperatures been in the low 90s today and tonight. We'll see temperatures drop back into the high 50s tomorrow. High 90s, could be close to 100. And then we'll see a chance of some cooler weather coming, with highs expected to be right around the mid 90s for Thursday and Friday, with a chance that we could see a little bit of thunderstorm activity as well. And news and weather this hour brought to you by Roof Rescue. They're giving away a free roof to someone in need, a teacher, firefighter, veteran, or someone who gives service in their community. You can nominate someone by going to roofrescueusa.com. And I'm Will Theoroy with your KVNU News headlines. Summer has been rough, with insects taking over. Grasshoppers have come in like a wrecking ball, eating our gardens, bushes, and flower beds. Logan Extermination can help with a spray and bait treatment that will help eradicate those hoppers. Earwigs and wasps are also starting to make their mark, while spiders are letting us know that winter is near and they're already trying to move inside. Call Logan Extermination today to schedule your insect treatment and protect your home and property. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
This is Cache County Fire District Chief Brady George. Due to ongoing fire dangers, fire restriction orders have been increased to Stage 2 restrictions. These include the following acts. Building, maintaining, attending, or using fire or campfire is prohibited, including charcoal grills, pellet grills, or ash-producing fuels. All other restrictions remain in place, including no smoking except within an enclosed vehicle, trailer, or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area that is paved or free from dry vegetation. No cutting, welding, or grinding metal in areas of dry vegetation. No operating a motorcycle, chainsaw, ATV, or other small internal combustion engine without an approved and working spark arrestor. No discharging or using fireworks, tracer ammunition, or other pyrotechnic devices, including exploding targets. Cache County Fire District urges all residents and visitors to use caution during outdoor activities. Preventing wildfires and protecting the beauty of Cache County is a shared responsibility.
That awkward moment when your tool quits mid-project? Don't worry. Industrial Tool & Supply has your back. This is Cody with Industrial Tool & Supply. Right now, it's the summer clearance on Makita tools, and no one knows Makita tools like we do. We've been slinging tools and saving projects for nearly 50 years. Come see why we're your local source for Makita. Plus, our crew actually knows what they're talking about. Industrial Tool & Supply, where real tools meet real people.
Summer is here, the kids are home, and the laundry, it's multiplying like rabbits. John at the Duck Hunter says if your dryer is sighing louder than you are, it might be time for a vent cleaning. A clean vent means faster drying, fewer wrinkles, in your clothes, not your forehead, and a happy, long-living dryer. Call the Duck Hunter at 435-770-4813 for a quote, because your dryer deserves a little self-care too.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com, and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. It is Tuesday, August 12th, 88 degrees here at the Radio Ranch, 4:11 in the afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. Coming up, an update from the Cache Election Center. This is the Election Center is a different place. The Cache voting, in-person voting location, event center. On Election Day, for the primary election taking place today, the Cache Event Center there at the fairgrounds is turned into the in-person voting location for the Valley. Now, you have drop boxes throughout the Valley you can still use up until 8 p.m. tonight. And by the way, that cutoff is hard. If you are there at 8:01, even if they are there just about to unlock and collect the ballots to take them back to the election center for tabulation, by state law, they are not allowed to allow you to drop your ballot in the box at 8:01 p.m. So don't put it off until the last minute. Those drop boxes are located throughout the valley, every city hall, one at the county administration building. And again, they are unlocked until 8 p.m. this evening. In some cases, they do lock the box and then come back a bit later to collect the ballots inside right at 8 p.m. But all of this is going to be wrapped up this evening in most races. We did get news this week that a couple of cities in Cache Valley have canceled their primary elections due to candidates dropping out or being disqualified for lack of submitting the proper financial documents and more, including Providence, one of those cities. There will be no municipal primary in Providence after all, after a candidate didn't submit the proper financial documents and another had already withdrawn. So every other city in the valley is holding a primary, is holding the general election coming up in November, but a good chunk of them have a primary underway. If your city does, again, and you're hearing this now and you're thinking, I forgot, you got time, fill out your ballot, sign it, seal it, and take it to your nearest drop box. I guarantee somewhere near you, or at least 2 or 3 times on your daily commute, you're passing one of these drop boxes, and it takes about 30 seconds to pull in, drop them off. There are a couple you can't drive up to, but most of them you can drive right up to. And or not conveniently drive up to, but most of them you can drive right up to, slide your ballot through the box, the slot in the top of the box. And again, just make sure you've done that before 8 p.m. this evening, when they'll be locking those boxes and collecting ballots for the final time. So as for results on these primaries, I'm guessing, well, I can't speak for each city, and where these are municipal elections, the cities are, with the help of the county and the state, running the election roughly. But I would guess that where turnout is lower, unfortunately, in municipal races, I would guess most of these races will have some kind of an update, either directly from the city or through the state website, election.utah.gov, on the results of these primary elections. And then, of course, the remaining candidates, depending on which race, for a mayoral race, for example, it will be whittled down to 2 in these municipal races. For council races, depending on how many council seats are up, you could see a larger number of candidates make it through the primary, but still 2 for each open seat. And we'll talk about the results tomorrow on the show. Expect an update online at cachevalleydaily.com tonight as the results come in, and also a live updates throughout the evening here on KVNU. So this is, again, a primary, meaning that you're deciding in most races, deciding the 2 candidates that will go forward onto the general election in November, which is the first Tuesday in November. And also remember recent changes to Utah state law that go into effect before that general election is that your ballot, if mailed, needs to be postmarked and received by Election Day. That is state law now. So if you're mailing your ballot, if you haven't mailed your ballot, do not mail it today. And you shouldn't have mailed it yesterday, as I mentioned at the start of the show yesterday. If you have not mailed your ballot by, say, the Friday before Election Day coming up in November, you're running a risk. Now, there's a chance that it still gets there in time, postmarked and arrives in time. But with that change to state law, the postmark of Monday before Election Day, that rule is out the window. The new rule is your ballot has to be received by Election Day. I wouldn't be surprised if they change this one, because that leaves a lot of decision making on the shoulder and guessing on the shoulders of the voter. I think that was a poor decision on the part of the legislature to make that change. So hopefully they come back and undo that. But for the time being, again, when it comes to mailing your ballot, today is too late. If you drop it in the mail today, your ballot will not be counted. Also, for those of you who have dropped off a ballot, another reminder from the Cache County Clerk, if for any reason your signature is questioned or rejected, they do their best to try and, it's called curing a ballot. To do that, they reach out to you on any contact information you've provided. That's why you notice on your ballot there's a place where you can list an email address or a cell phone number. And they do that so that they can reach out to you and say, hey, there was a problem with your ballot. The signature didn't match, or the signature was a bit off, and we're questioning. So they'll give you a chance to come in and re-sign, show your identification, re-sign, fill out a new ballot and re-sign that, or correct your signature. A lot of different things you can do, and then your vote will still be counted. Now, that can go on for a week or so after Election Day. So if you get one of those calls over the next few days, respond to that as quickly as possible if you want your vote to be tabulated. If you are contacted by the clerk's office after Election Day, that means there was an issue with your ballot. And if they don't hear from you, your ballot will just be shredded. So be sure to respond to those and provide contact information when possible. So, again, every drop box in the Valley right now is unlocked and open until 8 p.m. They're at every city hall. There's one at the county administration building. A list and even a map of drop box locations can be found at cashcounty.gov/elections. And the fun at the voting center down at the fairgrounds is underway as we speak. From our news team, Carter Chatterton is actually down there today, and he is so this was an update. They were affected, so we were affected by this as well, and its cause is still up in the air. But there was a power outage. You may have noticed here in Logan, lasted about 30 minutes. It whacked us too. Took all of our systems offline here, but that did hit the voting center there at the fairgrounds at the Cache County Event Center as well. And it's slowed them down about 30 minutes. So they thought about moving to the administration building downtown, the old location for ballot collection on Election Day. But they decided that when they got word from Logan City on the power being back up, they were able to get all the systems back online. And, it's been an exciting day, to say the least. So Carter's going to join us in just a couple of minutes and tell us all about what happened there at the election center as the power went out today, right after this.
It's time for Bank of Utah's Where's the Wallet Cash Quest. They've hidden a wallet worth $20,000 somewhere in Utah. If you can find it, $10,000 is yours, and the other half will go to a charity of your choice. Weekly clues will lead you to the wallet. Stay connected on social media and at bankofutah.com for rules and information and bonus clues. Find the wallet, win $10,000, and help a Utah charity. Let Bank of Utah help you on your quest for financial success. Bank of Utah, member FDIC.
Do you have a basement or garage full of hidden gems? Turn your stuff into someone's treasure. Don't miss Cache Valley's biggest garage sale Saturday, September 6th from 8 to 3 in the Eccles Ice Center parking lot. Booths, food trucks, a free kid zone with inflatable fun, and bargains galore. Power tools to patio sets, vinyl records to vintage clothing. You never know what you're going to find. Sign up today. First come, first serve at CacheValleyGarageSale.com. That's CacheValleyGarageSale.com. September 6th at the Eccles Ice Center. Sponsored by DD Auto Salvage. More than just metal. A self-service auto parts yard, metal recycling, junk and car pickup. Recycling made easy.
CacheValleyDaily.com, your go-to source for all things local. Catch the adrenaline of live local sports and the latest news involving the Utah State Aggies. But that's not all. Get plugged into the pulse of your community with our comprehensive local news coverage. From city council decisions to feature stories highlighting people in your own neighborhood, we've got you covered. Don't miss out on crucial information that affects you and your loved ones on CacheValleyDaily.com. Stay informed, engaged, and empowered, because staying local means staying connected.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Back to KVNU's For the People. We were offline here at the Radio Ranch, all of our stations, for close to 30 minutes today with a power outage. Our generator kicked in, brought us back up quickly. We were able to get most of the stations back on the air, and the dependence on technology in today's world, of course, means there's a lot of logging in and setting back up before we can actually get back to broadcasting. So I'm glad that happened before we were live today for the People. But if you noticed a bit of a gap in the programming on KVNU today, that's why. Interestingly enough, this did also affect the voting center that has been set up, as is tradition now here in Cache Valley on primary and general election days. They set up a voting center at the Cache Events Center there at the fairgrounds. And I've heard wind that during that power outage, it went on so long, they were considering actually moving operations back to the old location of the county administration building. So it's been an exciting day there. They're back up and running now. As I mentioned before the break, every drop box in the valley is unlocked at this point and ready for your ballot all over the place. Every city hall, you drive past at least 3 on your commute. It takes 30 seconds. But right now, with an update from that voting center at the Cache County Event Center at the fairgrounds, we have from our own news team, Carter Chatterton, who's down there today. And Carter, I imagine that there was a bit of panic for a while there as the power remained out for a significant amount of time.
Yes, for sure. And just, more and more panic as it went on. There was calls to Logan Light and Power, calls to the building administrator here at the event center, and just unfortunate timing. There was about 7 people here trying to vote when the power went out. So luckily 2 of those people had brought in their mail-in ballots with them, and there's actually another ballot drop box here. So they were able to fill those out, drop it in to the ballot box the old-fashioned way. But the other ones just had to end up coming back later. Luckily, the power was able to go back on in 30 minutes or so. But there were contingency plans, talk of generators, talk of moving to the administration building, which still had power.
That is, yeah. And what are the odds on today of all days to have a power outage that lasts that long? I imagine that the county clerk and others were just starting to sweat there a little bit, but great news that they're back up and running. I love that we have this voting center because, one, parking is great down there. It's a short walk from any parking spot you can get, but also being able to have that building just open all day long until 8 p.m. tonight. And Carter, you've been there for a bit today. What kind of crowds are you seeing? What's the general tone? People excited? I know municipal races we see lower turnout, but this is kind of a key time in Cache Valley, and people are definitely paying attention, right?
Sure. Local elections are important, and the people coming in to vote today really understand that. So there's excitement. I've seen about maybe 40 voters come through today.
Wow,
and
already? Wow.
Yeah, more expected with people getting off work any minute. And like you mentioned, the event center will be open and accepting votes until 8.
Yeah.
So, yeah, people are excited. People are passionate. There's no line, which keeps people happier, and the ballots are extremely short with this being a primary election.
Sure.
So it's been a good mood here all day.
That is. And Carter, you've had a chance to see behind the scenes a little bit on this over the last few months and the processing that goes into all of these ballots, the pressure that's on county clerks now to have some kind of result to announce by, half an hour after polls close. It's a big day. It's kind of like the Super Bowl for county clerks anytime we have an election day. But Cache County, so representatives of the state elections office, you've told me, are also here in Cache Valley, and this is County Clerk Bam's chance to shine, right?
100%. The Super Bowl is a good example of that, and unfortunately for him, it comes a few times a year with the general election coming up in November. But the clerk's office has a team of poll workers here, of course, at the event center, and then others at the ballot processing center by the airport. They're out making trips to those ballot boxes, emptying them, processing them, counting them, validating the voters. Like you mentioned, I've seen behind the scenes the complicated process of making sure that we have as many ballots as we do people receiving voter credit. And so that's kind of a complicated reconciliation there. But they've been on top of it, and we've got people from the Lieutenant Governor's office visiting today. I spoke to Ryan Cowley of the LGO, He's here visiting, overseeing, and just seeing how things are done here by Clerk Bem in Cache County.
This is, the process behind this, none of us really get to experience, but it's a tight ship that they run. And, I've always, Carter, one thing that's always fascinated me is, and correct me, you know the terminology better than me on this, I'm guessing, but I believe it's referred to as kind of a chain of custody with ballots. And so
exactly,
there's an entire process that plays out when they go out multiple times throughout the election day and collect ballots at the ballot box, the drop boxes at city halls throughout. And there's a very strict set of rules and even witnesses and things like that have to be on hand as they take those ballots out, seal them, transport them back to the election center for processing. And everyone has to be trained on that, right?
Everybody. And it ends up being, a complicated and really thorough system of signatures. If you were to go to the ballot processing center, you'd see there's a wall of binders. And every route with ballot boxes has got a binder. Every visit to the post office, people are sent out in trios, and each member of that trio has to sign off on everything. The bags are sealed with zip ties with serial numbers on them so you can track exactly when they're opened. And something special this year is that they're actually thinking of switching over to a digital chain of custody rather than the binders. This has been kind of the experiment for this election, and so they're actually pulling double duty, keeping track of things in the binder and digitally on a spreadsheet.
That's amazing. This is it's a process that has taken decades of refinement to perfect, and then they get the rules in place, and then everyone plays by the same rules. It's impressive to see. I've always, you and I have talked about this before, Carter. It's too bad people can't actually just stumble in unplanned and be a part of this, because I think it would go a long way to improving confidence for those who maybe have doubts about the security of the election system. If you see the process, those doubts will go away. But there's a good reason that you can't just stumble in and watch as well, right? That's part of the security.
Yes, that's part of the security, of course, but members of the public are welcome to get in contact with the county clerk and observe the process. But like you mentioned, those rules, there's a sign-in sheet, there's a log of everybody who enters into that processing center, the time they enter and the time that they leave. So it's all very secure. It's been really fascinating to see the process, the steps taken, the double checks, the triple checks. And mail-in ballots obviously get a lot of talk in the news. And something that I realized throughout this process is, yes, our ballots are mailed, but essentially Utah's still using paper ballots. There's no voting machines. Sure. Everything's still done on paper, counted by hand, audited by hand. Machines to check the signature verification, but everything gets a second and third look by human eyes.
Sure. That is, it's been interesting. That was the big thing there for a while. Everyone needed to be using these fancy electronic voting machines where you go in and tap the screen and all of that. And then we quickly moved away from that and basically back to a paper ballot system with a very high-tech scanning and processing system behind it. And people should be happy about that. But to me, that's always been funny, Carter, that kind of going backwards in a lot of, tech promoters' minds actually sped things up, right?
Yeah. And Cache County is actually an example of a quick turnaround in the counting and reporting of the votes. And they do a special procedure, which I'm told is unique to other counties, where they only count 1 day's worth of votes at a time. They're in that center counting ballots. They have this for the past 2 weeks. But just to ensure that every ballot gets verified and double checked, each day is only counted one at a time. And even with that, they're planning on releasing the results almost right at 8 tonight.
That is honestly amazing when you consider the number of ballots that need to be processed. And Carter, of course, we had an early voting period. We'll have another one before the November election as well. But have you heard any numbers, concrete numbers yet on turnout? Are we seeing high, low, average turnout, or is that kind of not being discussed yet?
Comparison to other years hasn't really been discussed yet. Certainly for in person today in the past week of early voting, it's been a bit higher than expected.
Oh, nice.
But I haven't heard if the mail-in ballots are on par for the expectation or not.
That's encouraging to hear one way or another, though. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Carter Chatterton, a member of our own news team, and they're at the voting center at the Cache County Fairgrounds today, getting a chance to see everything going on behind the scenes and more. And Carter, appreciate you supplying with us an update down there. We'll let you get back to it, and please, if you run into the county clerk or Ryan from the elections office, please give him a hard time for us here at KVNU.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jason.
All right. Thank you very much. And Carter, we'll see you when you're back at the station.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. And thanks to our listeners as well. And an update there from Carter Chatterton, a member of our news team here at KVNU and CacheValleyDaily.com, who's down there at the election center, or the voting center at the Cache County Fairgrounds. That is open until 8 p.m. tonight for you to drop off your ballot in person. If you don't want to make that drive, I guarantee you pass at least one drop box on your way to and from home and work, to the grocery store, whatever it might be. They're located in almost every city hall. There are a couple. There's one at the county administration building. Most of them, almost all, are drive-up. Some you do have to get out and hop over a little curb to walk up to them, but most you can drive your car right up to them, drop your ballot through the slot, and as long as you do that before 8 p.m. tonight, your ballot will be counted. So you do also have the option to vote in person. That has to be done at that voting center down there you do have an opportunity to fill out a ballot in person if you didn't receive one in the mail, but you are a registered voter. You can also register to vote in person only at the voting center there at the fairgrounds. So all of those options available to you. Easiest thing, though, if you're hearing this now, realize you've forgotten to mail your ballot. Do not mail it. If you mail your ballot will just be shredded. It's too late to mail your ballot, according to state law. So if you are just hearing this now, realize you've forgotten to fill out your ballot, still want to cast a vote in your municipal elections for city council and mayor throughout the valley, fill out your ballot, sign it, take it to the nearest drop box, which is probably at your city hall. Do all that before 8 p.m. tonight, and you're good. So they make it easy. All right, we'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People right after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Jason, you still have more than 3 hours to drop off your primary ballot if you still have it. Now, keep in mind, it is too late to mail those, but you can drop them off at drop-off boxes throughout the county. One of those is just to the west of the county administration building. And then also keep in mind, a voter election center has been set up at the Cache County Events Center through this evening. You have until 8 o'clock to drop off your ballots. Meanwhile, a driver arrested in Utah County over the weekend after he was allegedly caught driving more than 130 miles an hour along Interstate 15. Now, a Utah Highway Patrol trooper reportedly clocked the 28-year-old American Fork man driving a Dodge Challenger at 133 miles an hour. That's almost double the 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. Now, the driver was pulled over after exiting the freeway in Lehigh and was arrested on suspicion of reckless and exhibition driving. It marks the second time in a month that a driver has been arrested for allegedly reaching that same speed along I-15 in Utah County. In other news, a Harriman woman has been charged with a felony in a hit-and-run crash that killed a 70-year-old man last year. Troyland Stacy Patricia Ranscombe, a 52-year-old, was charged yesterday with failing to remain at the scene of an accident involving death. Now, the crash occurred back in November of last year in West Valley City and resulted in the death of Dennis Kyman. Now, according to charging documents, he was crossing against a red light when he was hit by a black Cadillac that was driven by Ranscombe, who did not slow down. Now, Ranscombe later approached officers near her unoccupied car, telling them that she was in shock and knew she had hit something. She also tested positive for drug use and was also driving on a denied license. And a Layton man who police say was wanting to work in youth corrections has now been arrested after allegedly traveling from Ogden to Utah County to try to engage in sexual activity with a 13-year-old girl. Matthew Alexander Arellano, a 31-year-old, was booked into the Utah County Jail yesterday on an investigation of aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor. Now, according to a police booking affidavit, Arellano had been talking with an undercover police officer who was posing online as a 13-year-old girl. Now, after telling the girl that he wanted to engage in sex with her, he then took a substantial step, traveled from Ogden to Utah County to try to meet up with the child. Now, Arellano arranged to meet the girl, but instead met with police officers as he arrived at the designated location and was taken into custody. Now, originally, he told police that he was only there to yell at the girl and scare her, but he later admitted to viewing child pornography. He was booked into jail and is now facing multiple charges. Well, we're going to see sunny skies continuing through the rest of the afternoon as we've been in the low 90s today. Tonight, dropping into the mid to high 50s. Looks like it's going to remain mostly clear into tomorrow as temperatures could be back up near 100, at least high 90s expected for Wednesday. And a red flag warning will once again go into effect due to that increased fire danger. And then Thursday, Friday, clouds and a possibility we could finally see a little bit of moisture in the form of some thunderstorms. And it's Cardall's Insulation that brings you our weather on the sixes. They can help keep your home more consistent during these hot summer days and help you so your air conditioner is not running so often. It's Cardall's Insulation. They'll take care of your home, garage, or attic. Give them a call at 755-5012. And I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News Headlines.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After President Trump ordered a federal takeover of Washington, D.C.'s police force and deployed National Guard troops to assist in fighting crime, some residents like Sheena Taylor say she's afraid to leave her home.
I'm African American. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I can get pulled over in my car. Everything's legit, but I still don't know how that interaction will work out for me.
The White House says it plans to conduct a wide-ranging review of Smithsonian Museum exhibitions, materials, and operations ahead of America's 250th anniversary to ensure the museums align with President Trump's view of American history. That, according to a White House official who confirmed it to ABC News. The Consumer Price Index shows inflation edged up 0.2% in July from June and 2.7% compared to last year. That's better than what analysts expected. It's one gauge the Federal Reserve Board is watching as it weighs an interest rate cut next month. This is ABC News.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Good afternoon. This is Mitch Green with Adams Wealth Advisors. U.S. equities surged today following a headline CPI report that strengthened market confidence in the likelihood of a September rate cut. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 484 points to close at 44,459, while the NASDAQ Composite rose 1.33% to 23,839. The S&P 500 advanced 1.13% to 6,446, and the Russell 2000 led gains with a 2.99% jump to 2,283. All major sectors finished in positive territory. Communication services, technology, materials, financials, consumer discretionary, and industrials each posted gains exceeding 1%. Utah Medical Products, ticker symbol UTMB, a Midvale-based medical equipment supplier, saw its share rose by 1.97% to close at $57.36. Treasury yields showed a steeper curve. As short-term rates fell while long-term yields edged higher. The one-year yield dropped 3 basis points to 3.9%. The 5-year yield held steady at 3.82%, and the 10-year rose 2 basis points to 4.29%, while the 30-year climbed 3 basis points to 4.88%. On the economic data front, the headline CPI held steady at 2.7% year over year, while core CPI ticked up to 3.1% from 2.9% earlier. Goods inflation remained subdued. Headline numbers kept in check, but persistent services inflation pushed core CPI higher. Additional data showed red book sales up 5.7%, and the federal budget recorded a $291 billion outlay. Looking ahead, tomorrow's calendar is light on economic releases, but several Federal Reserve officials are scheduled to speak. Markets will be watching closely for any signal on the path of interest rates ahead of next Monday's policy decision.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Friday Night Lights are back, and so is the best high school sports coverage in northern Utah. From Ridgeline to Bear River, Green Canyon to Logan, Skyview to Mountain Crest, Cache Valley Media Group brings fans full play-by-play action on the radio and video all season long. It's going to be an unforgettable year, and your business can be a part of the excitement. Put your brand front and center with thousands of loyal local sports fans. Contact Cache Valley Media Group today. Get your business in the game.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Established earlier this year by the Cache County Council, the Cache County Form of Government Study Committee held its 5th meeting last week, and we've got the audio for you. I've posted a link to the entire hour-plus discussion that took place last Thursday at a public committee meeting. You can attend these meetings. The schedule is posted on their the cachecounty.gov/ let me make sure I have this right. cachecounty.gov/study-committee. You can see a full line or a full schedule for their meetings and more. But last Thursday, they heard a presentation from USU political scientist and one-time mayor here in Cache Valley, Damon Cann. Very smart guy, one of my favorite guests, and we're actually going to have him on in the future to talk in more detail about this research that was presented to the committee. The purpose of this committee, when created by the council, was to study Cache County's current form of government and try and answer a difficult question: is it the most effective? Now, that can mean that's an open-ended question, right? If you're looking at just costs of running the government, you might say that there are more expensive or cheaper forms of government. If you're looking at overall performance and effectiveness, how much bang for the buck are taxpayers getting from our current form of government? That's a whole different question. Distribution of services and getting work done, dotting I's, crossing T's, number of scandals or negative audits done by the state or the county auditor. You could look at a lot of different metrics to try and answer the question of, is this form of government effective? And that's the challenge of this committee. So now this last Thursday was their 5th meeting. And one major action they took was via a vote as a committee, they decided to move forward with producing surveys. And they did that after a presentation on cost analysis of different types of county government throughout Utah. And so the only official action they took, again, last Thursday, was a vote to proceed with building surveys. And these surveys will be sent out when completed to Cache County elected officials. That means city council members, mayors, other elected officials throughout the county, maybe state lawmakers as well will be asked to weigh in through a detailed survey. County employees, of course, will be surveyed. And then finally, the general public will be surveyed. The committee chair, former Representative Jack Draxler, has called the committee FOG, Form of Government. Again, it's the Form of Government Study Committee, but FOG is what Jack calls it. And they officially appointed Utah State University professor of political science Damon Cann as a professional consultant. This was a few meetings ago, and an advisor to the committee. Now, Ken made it clear he wanted no compensation for this. He just wanted to help, and he's been assisting the committee in a couple of different ways. But last Thursday, he provided a presentation on a full cost analysis of all of the different types of county government that exist in Utah. For those not familiar with what we're talking about, there are commission form of government that where you have Utah County still uses this, where they just have 3 commissioners. They don't have a council or a county executive or a county mayor. They just have 3 commissioners, or maybe it's 4 commissioners, 5 commissioners, whatever. But they just have the commissioners, and that's it. That was part of Can's analysis. He looked at county commission counties of comparable size to Cache County. And he used data from transparent.utah.gov. We talked about that with the state auditor last week, just comparing salaries and things like that. And by the way, the commission form of government is the most common in Utah counties, small and large. So Cache County's current style of council plus an administrative executive that sometimes they sort of treat like the county mayor, it confuses people and voters, but it also is rare in Utah. Now, that doesn't mean it's not good. It's not as widely used as the simpler commission form of government, where you have a handful of commissioners and that's your county government. That's your council. That's your executive. That's everything wrapped into one. Can said, though, when presenting to the FOG committee last Thursday, he said the commission form of government, while most widely used, is also has the most potential to be the most costly, because each commissioner is a full-time official. They have a full-time salary and full benefits package. And he gave some examples: Washington County, Box Elder County, Uinta, and Iron counties. And he noted that each county's respective decisions for county commissioner wages varies. They're not all paid the same. But he said he averaged it out, and he said full-time commissioners in Utah, some were making as high as $130,000 plus. Others were making as low as $50,000, depending on the county and the size of the county. He also reviewed kind of a variation of the commissioner form of government where they complicated a little bit more, and that's the expanded county commission. Now, this is 5 to 9 part-time commissioners, sort of getting closer to what we do here in Cache County, which is a council, a part-time council. And that is still called a commission style of government, but it's very different than the typical county commission style, which is, again, most common here in Utah. And that's usually 3 full-time commissioners. The expanded commission is 5 to 9 part-time commissioners. And then he looked into their interaction with executive and legislative powers and things like that. In a commission style, executive and legislative powers are split between different commissioners. So you have 3 commissioners, and one of them, puts on the executive hat, the other puts on the legislative hat. And the problem is sometimes they're forced to just switch hats, which is, at that point, many people feel with the commission style, you're just pretending to have a separation of powers at that point. That's one of the common criticism. But it has worked well. The case they talked about Grand County a lot. They have an expanded county commission. And Can said in his research, the county had almost adopted a council manager form of government by hiring a professional manager, despite being a commission. And the county commissioners would still have the power, but they'd have this professional manager, and that was going to be an additional full-time salary for the county, which Can said then raises the question of at what point are you most effective? At what point is your budget, just administrative budget to run the county, becoming so outsized you're actually becoming a drag on the county? And he said, I can't answer that. And each county, of course, is going to have a different answer to that as well. So it was an amazing presentation. In the end, they ended up focusing a lot on Tooele County. And part of the reason for that, now there were local mayors that are part of this committee. Former Representative Jack Draxler chairs it, of course. And the discussion itself was just fascinating. But they looked a lot at Tooele, Summit, and Wasatch counties, and Can reiterated several times during the presentation that there are a lot of contextual factors you have to consider. These are different size counties, very different costs of living between, especially like Tooele and Summit. And he said both Summit and Wasatch Counties' employee compensations and benefits were in some cases more than double what Tooele County is paying. But they all have similar formats of county government and with very different salaries. Can said, broadly speaking, he used an example of an executive at TurboTax and a council manager to a professional tax preparer, basically saying, that what a lot of counties seem to be doing is a commission style or an expanded commission style, and then they hire a professional manager to do most of the work outside of the decisions that these elected officials will be asked to weigh in on. And he said, you do have to ask the question, is that effective government? And that gets us back to what we're calling effective, he said. Are we just looking at how much we're spending on salaries for county government and things like that? Here's just a few minutes of the conversation last Thursday night where they talked about Cache County's form of county government as opposed to counties like Tooele and Wasatch and Summit.
You look back over the whole scope of the thing, across the averages, right, we talked about the council manager thing. If we looked at Tooele's in the low to mid 400s, I think it was. And so if you keep it just to the most comparable counties, the thing that struck me personally in my own interpretation of the data was not how much variation there was in the cost of these forms of government, but how little variation there was in the costs of the form of government. Just by determining how you're going to pay your salaries, you could, within a reasonable range, easily move one form of government past another. Easily move in the services that they provide, but therefore have higher costs in terms of providing those governmental services. So there is some variation, but I don't know how much of it to ascribe to form of government versus the tastes and local conditions of those particular counties. And at the end of the day, my assessment is that elected official preferences and the preferences of the voters that oversee them are probably more consequential on cost of government than is the form of county government that you choose.
So Can's conclusion, just looking again at financial data, salaries, and cost of, daily cost of running the county government, as much as he could assess, he said that the different styles, committee or commission, expanded commission, mayor and council, executive and council, those types of things. He said, cost-wise, if you're just looking at salaries and what it costs to pay all these people to do the job, it's probably negligible. His recommendation to the committee is that if they're looking to actually measure what is the most effective form of county government, he said he would look elsewhere other than just salaries and that cost. He would look at, maybe broader things like, how fast are they turning around on facing challenges in the county? How long does it take them to solve a problem or make a decision and things like that? So at the end, again, the discussion concluded with them saying, all right, we've got enough information here after 5 meetings. It's time to survey the public, the elected officials, and they voted to move ahead with producing those surveys. When you might see those surveys go out hasn't been said yet. And again, working on getting Damon to join us here in the studio to expand on what he learned looking at different types of county government. Again, if you want to know more about FOG, the Form of Government Committee created by the Cache County Council, chaired by former Representative Jack Draxler, I've linked to the cachecounty.gov website where you can find audio of all their meetings and upcoming scheduled meetings and more. These are public if you'd like to attend. That's on our Facebook page, and we'll be back right after this.
Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Ricks. Get your AC fixed, call Gary Ricks.
How long has it been since you've had your HVAC tuned up? This is Gary Ricks with a BOGO deal. Get your furnace tuned up for free with an air conditioning tune-up. You'll get a certified technician to do your annual cleaning, calibration, and standard filter change. Everything required to keep your HVAC system running safe and efficient. Let's BOGO the heck out of this and be ready for winter with this limited time deal.
Get your furnace fixed, call Gary Ricks. Get your AC fixed, call Gary Ricks.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
This is Detective Johnson from the Logan City Police Department. Scams in our community are on the rise and innocent victims are losing thousands of dollars. These scams are coming in the form of phony phone calls claiming to be from government organizations or legitimate businesses. They are also circulating on social media and emails. Almost all of these scams are asking for payment through gift cards that are almost impossible to track. No legitimate business or organization uses gift cards as currency. If you receive a scam of this nature, do not give the scammers any information and immediately call police. Remember, pause, stop, call a cop.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello? Brad Worston, this is Will Feelright. Somebody nominated you, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they contacted us and said, Brad's an amazing person who represents not only Utah, but Cache Valley everywhere he goes. And they also talked about all of the crazy stuff you love to do in Plains. So we've got a $40 gift card for you to Firehouse Subs.
Awesome.
You're amazing. Crazy, but amazing.
Well, thank you.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
Coming up in hour 2, we'll kick the hour off with this week's sneak preview of Sutherland Institute's Defending Ideas. Sutherland, a conservative think tank out of Salt Lake City. And in this week's episode that our listeners get to hear first, Nick Junn is joined by Sutherland Institute analyst Derek Monson and Matt Germer of the R Street Institute to unpack what Nick describes as the legal, constitutional, and civic questions around a growing controversy. And that is the Trump's Department of Justice request, including a request to the state of Utah for basically all of our election data, including all of our voter registration data. Now, Sutherland, a right-leaning conservative think tank, is taking a position on this one that some might be surprised at, considering their own politics and what they normally advocate for. They are calling this a dangerous overreach by the administration. Why they're calling it that? Well, for our listeners, a sneak preview of this week's Sutherland Institute Defending Ideas gets underway in just a few minutes here on KVNU Logan.
For news and talk is right here on your radio. Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.